Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft Alert franchise mode here in NHL 23. So I am pre-recording this episode, but in the last episode we had a pretty tough offseason, I'd say. We did lose a couple players like Cox, Festorini, and Kalinin, and then also some AHL players. But the team, we managed to keep them all together pretty much. A lot of our RFAs we managed to get back, which is good as well. Like Holy Minen is an RFA for another year again, same with Heracala. But these guys are very close to losing their RFA status, which is kind of scary because we might eventually lose them. We did buy out Strachan just to save some cap space because he was making like $3 million, so we end up losing him. Also, Farrell is on the last year of his deal probably, and he probably will be gone this upcoming offseason, my guess, just because of the fact I don't really know if I'm going to be able to give him like $4 million or something like that. But luckily for us, we drafted Bomeister in the last episode, and he'll be able to play on our defensive core this season. I was planning on playing him in the AHL this year, but after our cap crunch, I had to make the decision that we are going to actually play him this season. And then also our goaltending is Cox and Taze. Forward-wise, you can see we have our forward core still pretty much intact. Like, our top six is definitely still really good and set in stone, but we are running into problems now with our cap in a lot of ways because Darby's contract, his ELC, comes to an end this offseason, and he's going to be a pretty expensive RFA if we want to lock him up long term. Zikov is up for renewal, and this guy is a face-off machine pretty much, and that's it. And then there's also Hartnell, who's going to be an RFA again, so we might have to keep on milking the RFA status, but this team might fall apart pretty soon, which is kind of scary. But if we fall apart soon enough, we will have another chance to probably quickly rebuild this team into being maybe a contender. But hopefully this team has a better year ahead in terms of the playoffs, because we should be a playoff team. We do still have like $8 million in cap space, which is nice, but next offseason that is going to eat up a lot of that. Let's take a quick look at free agency just to see if any of our former players went to free agency, or if they're still in free agency, I should say. So most of them are like 77s and below. Just want to see if like Cox is there or whatnot. Not that we really need to bring back those type of guys, but just in case. Doesn't look like it right now. Yeah, I don't really see any of them, which is unfortunate. So that means they got contracts somewhere else. Let's go to the player search thing and see where our former players signed. And then we'll take a look at what those new players look like on our team that we drafted and that are on our roster for the first time as well. And then we will get into simulating the season, which should be interesting to see how this team does, because we do have a new head coach. I did also off video offer a contract to an assistant coach, so we do have an assistant coach that should be signing with us shortly, which is good. So our former Cox is still a free agent, but he still wants looking like 1.5 maybe. I don't really know, but that's good. At least maybe eventually we'll bring him back as a depth option or a fourth line option, but for right now I think I'm gonna hold off on bringing him back. I mean, I could bring him back, but I don't know for sure. So Cox is still a free agent. Festorini probably signed somewhere, my guess, and same with Kalinin. Sucks I had to let those guys go, but when it came down to losing them or re-signing Jorgensen was the key for this team. So Festorini signed with Minnesota on a one-year deal at 3.275, so we probably could have got Festorini back. But he's going to be going to the Minnesota Wild, and we'll see what he does with Minnesota. And finally, Kalinin, who only spent 3 seasons with us in the NHL. We'll see what he did, or where he went. But yeah, he wasn't worth being paid $4 million to, I don't think. He signed with the Los Angeles Kings with another Kalinin who's in the AHL, which is kind of funny. He signed only 2.13, so we could have probably got both of them back if we would have waited a little bit. That's interesting. So he's going over to the Los Angeles Kings. We'll see what he could do over there as well. So both those guys are over in the Western Conference like us, which is kind of eh. So there is that. Okay, so those are those. Let's take a look at our new players on our roster, and then we will probably get simulating once we got our assistant coach signed and all that. Okay, so new players on the roster for the season. Byron Farrell is one of them. He was a third-round pick of ours. He's got really good passing, and if his offensive awareness could go up, this guy might be a really good steal. He's had a great few seasons in the AHL, and he's finally getting a chance to play in the NHL this season. Here's what he looks like. Let me go to appearance. I don't want to go to equipment. Here's what he looks like. Nothing too special. I think I used that face for like Darian Hatcher in my roster builds, which is kind of funny. What else we got here for new players? Anybody else? Vandenbush, I think, is new. Yeah, Vandenbush spent 2 years in the AHL. He's a grinder. He is, I think, we're using him as a depth option right now, or is he a fourth liner? I think he might be a fourth liner, but regardless, this is what he looks like. Looks pretty basic. Nothing too special. Any defenders that are new? Oh yeah, the one that we just drafted, Jeffrey Bomeister. Let's take a look at what our new stud offensive defenseman looks like. I should give him some power play time this year, hypothetically, and what a surprise, more gray hair. What's with these 18-year-olds and gray hair? It's like something bad in the water or something these days. And then goalie-wise, we have the same goalies as last season. So let's go over to our power play lines and maybe give Bomeister some power play time if there's any spot for him to have power play time. Definitely not on the top unit. Not really on the second unit either. Yeah, there's not really a chance he can. I mean, unless I moved Claxton off the power play. But I don't really want to do that. Does he have 4-on-4 time at least? He should be getting some 4-on-4 time, right? Yeah, he is getting some 4-on-4, okay. Yeah, there's not really much time for him to get ice time, at least at the moment, but eventually he will be getting some more ice time because obviously he's an OFD. But that is that, and yeah, let's simulate the season and see what this team does with the new coaching staff. Sucks that we lost the head coach. Like, I offered him a good contract to him. Not interested in joining with his job title. Man, it was your job title that you were asking for. God damn. Okay, we need to get that coach back, though. I need an assistant coach, because I think that might be one thing that's making this team lose games, is having that set assistant coach. Like, this guy's got a 67% scheme fit, but he's a defensively minded one. So let's try and offer him like as much as we can almost. But I'd like to get him in, get ourselves another coach. Because if we have the max coaches we could get, that will maybe make our team a better defensive team, having this guy on the bench as well. Because our team has been good defensively. It's just in the playoffs it seems to not be as good. Like, we have a forward coach now, we'd have a defensive coach, and we have a generalist as our head coach. So I think that's a decent coaching option. So let's advance a few days, see if we get him now. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so we have our coaches. Let's sim through this preseason, see what the team does in the preseason, and then hopefully this new coaching staff could get us some regulation wins, or regular season wins, I mean. And then we'll see what we could do playoff-wise if we could get there for next episode. But more than likely we're a playoff team. It's just all about winning that Stanley Cup, because if we don't win a Stanley Cup soon, we're going to eventually lose a lot of good players. Like, signing Jorgensen to an 8-year deal is going to hurt us a lot in terms of who we are able to bring back. Like, for example, guys like Harakala, Cole Minen, those guys eventually might be gone. But a pretty good preseason, 5-1-2 in our 8 games. 11 points in 8 games from Jorgensen. Hopefully he keeps that up in the regular season, because I was skeptical about giving him an 8-year deal in a sense, because I feel like he got a lot of statistical growth, which means he's not actually as good as his overall indicates. So I feel like he is going to have a regression year this year, but I really hope that's not the case, because I obviously want him to do as good as possible. So actually, let me take a look quickly. I also did let go of Duncan. Did Duncan sign anywhere? Because Duncan was a goalie that didn't get to play in our NHL team. He played a lot of years in the AHL, and I wanted to sign this guy back, but I let him go accidentally, I think. So I wanted to see if a team picked him up or not. No, he's still a free agent. He's a 79 at 26, and he only wants 1.1. I am going to sign Duncan. No. That's good that he's a free agent still. Surprised that he is, but it's probably because he's 26. But we are going to sign Duncan back. Yeah, we're going to sign Duncan back, and he's going to be a... I might alternate between him and Taze during the season as our backup. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So let's just get Duncan to accept. He should accept before the start of the season. Please, Duncan. He literally accepts the day of the start of the season. Interesting. He should get called up to the NHL team as well. And I'm going to start him in the NHL. And we're going to have Taze scratch because Taze didn't have the best year last year. So I'm trying to find that goalie that can actually simulate good in the playoffs if Cox isn't good. So for now, Taze will get scratched, but we will try Cox. Cox and Duncan as our goalies. He was a 5th round pick of ours. Played good in the AHL. Deserves a chance at the NHL. We'll see if one of those guys ends up being better than the others. So we'll probably simulate the janitor first, and then we'll take Duncan out of the lineup. And then we'll put Cox, or not Cox, we'll put Taze in the lineup and see if he could do better as the backup. And whoever is the better of the two will be our backup for the beginning of the playoffs. And we have at least a 3-way goalie tandem to decide on who is actually the best goalie for us in the postseason. So let's take a look and see how we do up till January the 1st. Starting off with 2 wins, that's a good sign. And then we lose to Seattle. Then we lose again, but then we win again. Bit of a streaky start here, but that's okay. New coaches, that's what I would expect. Looks like we're having some pretty good defensive games, though, where we only allow like a couple goals a game. And as I say that, then we allow 5 goals and 7 goals. But still, some good defensive efforts here and there early on. And winning a lot of games, too, which is always a good sign. But if we end up winning the President's Trophy, we know we're going to be a first-round exit, so we obviously don't want to do that. Ooh, losing a couple games here in a row. Not doing too hot. I mean, I would rather just squeak into the playoffs because maybe we'd have a higher percentage of winning the Stanley Cup, but never really know with this sim engine if you're going to be a Stanley Cup contender or not. Yeah, this is a little bit of a weird start to this team. 18, 14, and 2. There we go. There's a couple more wins and a couple more losses. Yeah, we don't really win a lot in a row, huh? 20, 16, and 3. And our best player is Jorgensen, at least with 43 points in 39 games, so he's not regressing really at all. That's interesting. We're in a wild card spot right now. Only by like 2 points. And we have more games played than everybody else, almost 2, in the Western Conference, which is not good. Let me take a look at how Duncan's been as the backup. But I'm not going to take a look at everybody else's stats, but I might rework the lines a little bit. Ooh, yeah, Duncan's having a rough time. He is having a rough time, so we'll put Taze in net. And then we're going to rework the lineup a little bit. We'll go Hartnell to the top line, Jorgensen down to the second line, even though Jorgensen's been the best player on the team, just to give a little bit more chemistry boost. And I am going to take Vandenbush out of the lineup, I think. Maybe not. He is not doing terrible for his ice time. I mean, that line is a minus, though. If I take out Vandenbush, is there a minus on this 4th line still? No, there's not. Okay, we're going to try casting for the next half of the season, just so we can see who's actually more suited for our team in terms of the playoffs and whatnot. Because we should be a playoff team unless this team somehow manages to crap the bed. This new coach isn't doing the best with this team so far. But maybe we're going to have a strong second half of the year. Okay, let's get the rest of the season simulated and see if we make the playoffs. Like I said, I want to make the playoffs, but I need to win a Stanley Cup in order for the playoffs to be something that's actually worth making, you know, as we drop a few more games. I don't really like how streaky this team's been this season so far. And I don't really know what the problem is, but there's a good little winning streak coming. And then we lose a game, of course, when I say that as well. I guess I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself with certain things, huh? Like, this team's never winning a lot in a row. Like, we're dropping like 4 games straight, and then we're winning 4 games straight. Like, I don't really know what to make of this team right now. Like, we might all of a sudden just have a really good playoffs if we make it, but at the same time, it's a little bit concerning how this team's been performing. 31, 24, and 5, still in a wildcard spot. And how much games have we played? Okay, so the Kings have one more game played than us, and we have the same amount of points, which is good. There's actually a 3-way tie with the Golden Knights. Interesting. But it is a very tight race right now. Jorgensen's still over point per game, which is great because I was kind of scared that he would definitely regress this season. So let's simulate a day before the trade deadline. Obviously, we can't make trades. And we win a couple more games and lose one as well. let me actually take a look at nothing, I don't think. Are we in a good spot right now? We're probably in a good spot right now. Really tough to tell with this team, but like literally if we don't have the perfect season, it might be a good thing because maybe the playoffs will be a lot better. So let's get the rest of the season done with and rip the band-aid off to see if we're a playoff team or not. Let's actually just go to April the 1st so we have at least 4 games left just in case we're fighting for a spot. But I think this team should be able to find a way into the playoffs because we have a pretty solid roster on paper. Obviously it's taken some hits, but I think this team should be a playoff team, even with the amount of losses that we're suffering this year. Why are we losing so much, though? To me, it doesn't make sense. And there's a good winning streak coming. Nicely done. 8-5 win over Dallas. Poor Bickle. We'll see how he does this season as well. A couple more wins. Okay, now we're winning games. That is good. That is good. Right time for wins to happen. 42, 29, and 6. And we have 5 games left on the season. And we have not clinched the playoff spot yet. We have still 5 games left, so we could hit a max of 100 points. So, and there's other teams that are behind us that have games, more games played than us. So we might be in a good spot. Let's get these last few games out of the way, and hopefully we do not go on a losing streak here. Hey, there you go. There's a win. There's a shootout loss and a win. So at least it was a point, and we have clinched a playoff spot. Nicely done, guys. Not the perfect season, but we don't need a perfect season to maybe go far in the playoffs. So we finished with 99 points, 46, 29, and 7. Let's advance a day. See if we get any other results. There you go. Everybody's done in the entire league now. And wow, what a season for Derek Heath. So the top line must have been doing really well this year. He had 96 points. Love to see it. Derek Heath is maybe becoming a guy that might be a future Hall of Famer for this channel. Who knows? Well, let's take a look at team stats first before we take a look at our player stats. So, entire league-wise, we finished in 11th spot. So, not the best season, but we made the playoffs, and now it's anybody's game. Hopefully, this time around, we can make it past the first round, though. Let's see, we scored as much as the Montreal Canadiens with 282, probably 10th in the league, I think. Our goals against was pretty decent, it looks like. Yeah, we were actually a really good defensive team this year. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Our power play was really good this year as well. 24.4% for 3rd place in the NHL. The Jets had the best power play at 27.7. That's crazy. Our penalty kill was also pretty decent. So pretty decent on everything. Looks like 84.9. Not bad. 8 short-handed goals as well. So probably a lot of short-handed points from Derek Heath, my guess. Considering he led us in points. 8-1-1 in our last 10 games. That's kind of scary because I feel like we're going to get swept in the first round because of that. But hopefully that's not the case. Let's take a look at our team stats here. Starting off with Derek Heath. 96 points in 82 games. Yeah, this guy might win a Selke this year depending on his takeaways and all that stuff. Plus 42. Yeah, Derek Heath has turned out to be a very, very solid player. He's been getting better every single season of his career. And he's now just under 500 points in the NHL. Yeah, this guy's awesome. He's only signed for a few more years, though, which is scary. And then we're going to have to give him a huge contract. So, yeah, we're going to end up losing some people that are really big on this team eventually. Another really good player, Avery Parrott, 89 points this year. Almost hit 50 goals. Really good season from Parrott. He's been getting better every single season the last few years. Yeah, Parrott's also one of these guys I really like. He's got a lot of game-winning goals and all that. He is a clutch performer, and hopefully he comes out in the playoffs again. 67 points from Hartnell. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. A little bit of a regression, but still, he's looking like a pretty good player, and at least he still has RFA rights for a few more years, because if not, we probably would have ended up losing him to free agency at some point. Zykov, who is up for renewal this season, only 58 points. So his offensive numbers aren't great, but he did have 3 short-handed goals and also won over 50% of his face-offs. Not as good as the years past, but still pretty good. How about Keith? How much short-handed goals? Wow, he's 55.85% on the draw. And he only had 2 short-handed assists, apparently. I want to take a look at these takeaway numbers now. 126 takeaways. He might be the Selke winner this year. which would be his second Selke by the time he turns 24. So we'll see if Derek Keith ends up winning a Selke this year. Claxton, 38 points, pretty good. I still really like Claxton. He's only signed to $1.5 million, so he's a very cheap player for us. Wong, 35 points in his second season, not too bad. He's up to an 83. Farrell, 28 points in his rookie season, 3 goals only, but 25 assists. Only 33 shots in 82 games. So Farrell's a pure playmaker. He probably is like a 14 out of 15 on the shot pass buys. So that's interesting. So there's Farrell. Cassian, 8 points in 43 games since we put him in. Not bad. Darby, 51 points. Not too bad. He's been getting better every single season. Love to see it. This guy's going to want a lot of money still, probably. Right wing wise, Jorgensen, 82 points in 82 games. See, I could not let Jorgensen walk. He's had 3 straight 80-point seasons. He's closing in on 1,000 career points and 1,000 career games as well as a member of the Ice Tigers. So there was no way we wanted to lose this guy. And his contract is a little bit pricey, but I think he is worth it at this stage. Eventually, it's going to be a bad contract, I think. But for now, it is a decent contract. Walzer, only 26 points. This guy hasn't really panned out to be anything, but he hasn't gotten a lot of ice time. LaRose, 21 points, not bad. Still only a 77, but he is improving defensively. And 8 points in 39 games for Vandenbush, the grinder. He's got really good shot power, so we might play him in the playoffs, who knows. Zeke got 58 points, plus 37. Coley Minen, 40 points and a plus 7. Coley Minen regressed a lot. Like, his point production dropped off a lot. Maybe less power play time, I don't know. Eric Halla, 30 points, plus 35. Rosa, 18 points, plus 9. And then our young defensive pairing of Bouwmeester and Farrell, 14 points and 12 points, and they were minus 4. But still not bad for a rookie season for Mr. Bouwmeester. Hopefully he gets some development. Only 6 penalty minutes as well, so he's not very physical with an OFT for sure. Cox had a pretty solid season. I wouldn't say the best season, but at least he's still over a 900 save percentage. A lot of wins. Hopefully he can win in the playoffs. Taze was really solid this season as the backup, which is good to see because last year he was not as good. So hopefully if he gets a chance to play in the playoffs, he can play good. And then Duncan was terrible, but at least we have ourselves a 3-headed monster. And hopefully one of them takes a run in the playoffs. Okay, let's take a look at the players around the entire league. So the best player in the point-wise was Melvin Lowry with 115 points. We could have drafted this guy 4th overall, but we did not. And he just came off an 80-point season before, so he just all of a sudden randomly blew up. This guy's over a point per game in his career. Nuts. Damn, that sucks. We should have drafted Melvin Lowry maybe. I don't know. Magnuson, who is the franchise guy, had a 68-goal season, 104 points. This guy's absolutely insane. He's already got 308 goals, and he's only played just under 500 games. And he was a qualified RFA that the Canucks brought in from Buffalo, which is funny. Jack Hughes was up there in points as well, 100 points. And yeah, Derek Keith was top 10 in points. That's impressive. Very impressive. Let's take a look at most game-winning goals. Daniel DeRocher. This guy was a 7th rounder, I think I saw, right? Yep, he was. Wow, this guy is panning out to be a really good steal for Colorado. He's played 2 seasons, and he's already got a 50-goal season, and he was a former 7th-round pick. Unreal steal there from Colorado. Most power play goals. Lowry with 27, not a surprise considering he had 66 goals. Most short-handed goals. Barrett Hayton, Colin White were up there. Zikov was up there nice with the 3 short-handed goals. Most short-handed points. William Eklund, Dubé, and Anderson. Let's take a look at those Selke candidates. Takeaway numbers. And face-off percentages. Barkov won 54.5% of his draws, but had 138 takeaways. Malachi Gallant. Oh, this guy was traded to Boston and then signed with Buffalo in free agency. Or he was traded by Boston to New Jersey, I think. But 56.5% on the face-off dot. 138 takeaways. He might be able to edge out Keith, I guess. Yeah, he's going to edge out Keith, unfortunately. I think, yeah. Well, actually, Keith took a lot more face-offs, though, but had a worse percentage and less takeaways. I think Keith is going to get snubbed of another Selkie. Well, not really snubbed, but still. That's unfortunate if that's the case. Most fights, Tyler Maroon in Tampa Bay. Interesting. Best defenseman for points this year was Quinn Hughes. Back in Vancouver. Was he on a different team before? No, he's always been in Vancouver, huh? Minyukov was up there. Fox. Hopefully we don't have to play Vegas again in the playoffs. But Boris Zikov was up there in points. That is great to see. Best goalie for wins, Igor Shesterkin with 41 wins. Most shutouts, Jacob Malik with 6 shutouts for Dallas. So I guess Dallas might be a playoff team. I don't really know. I didn't take a look at who's the playoff team right now. Blomqvist was up there in save percentage. Best goals against by a starter. Yeah, Blomqvist is probably going to be the Vezina winner. Any goalie goals? No goalie goals. Most goalie assists was Jake Ottinger with 5. And the best rookie this season was Pettersson in the Islanders with 60. Wow, the Islanders had 2 rookies that were up there in points. They're probably line mates. That's cool. So there is that. So who are we playing in the first round of the playoffs is the question. Who also made the playoffs? So the Golden Knights make the playoffs. The Ducks make the playoffs. The Canucks make the playoffs. The Jets, the Predators, the Coyotes, and the Avalanche make it. So the Stars did miss out on the playoffs. So Bickle misses out on the playoffs again. We'll have to take a look actually at his playoffs, player stats and stuff like that. But the Predators making the playoffs means Neil likely is in the playoffs again. Bruins, Lightning, Canadiens, Red Wings, and Maple Leafs make the playoffs. And then the Caps, Devils, and Blue Jackets. Okay, who are we playing in round 1? It is going to be the Anaheim Ducks. And we don't have home ice advantage. That's interesting. Let's take a look at how Anaheim did during the regular season. And then we'll take a look at that roster because we never played them in the playoffs before. I'm pretty sure. But let's take a look at their stats compared to us. So, they finished with 3 more points than us. They had the same amount of regulation wins, just more OT losses. They scored way more goals than us, so they're a really good offensive team apparently. They're a worse defensive team by a large margin as well, though, so hopefully we could shut down their offense. Their power play was worse than ours, and our penalty kill was better than theirs, so that's interesting. It might be a really even matchup. We'll see what their forward core and defensive core and goaltending looks like, though, because maybe this is where it's going to be a unanimous number 1 on who's better. And they're pretty balanced. They do have some weaknesses, but first line of Ulf Backer. They also have Trevor Zegers still, who's playing at 33, and Troy Terry, who's still there at 36. Second line of Zane Lowry, Jesper Lilia, and Eve Carl. Yeah, that's a little bit weak on the left side. But I mean, we have weaknesses on our wing as well, so at some points. They also have Ladislav Bela, Logan Segovens, who's there. They also have Kasper Simptomenov. Yeah, that center depth is unreal, though, for the first 3 lines. They also have Vorobiev, Heponiemi, and Jesse Okposo was their 4th line. So they must have some sort of cap issue. Which, yeah, they have cap issues, I think. Minyukov and Yoki Haru. Benjamin, who's a 69 low 7th defenseman that they drafted in the 7th round. He's playing in the NHL with Mikey Anderson. They also have Jonah Carlton and Jaden Wilford, who was undrafted. So that defensive core might be one of the worst defensive cores I've seen. Obviously, Minyukov had a really good season, but like Mikey Anderson's a top 4, but Yoki Haru is kind of like a borderline top 6. And then these guys are like AHL 3rd pairing defenders, pretty much. Goalie-wise, they have Colton Ellis and Magnus Hornquist. Who did they have scratched? Brett Howden, Andrei Grigorenko, and Pierce Ladd. Yeah, this team really must have some really bad cap issues somehow. I just don't know how. Willie is making 10 million as well. Lowry was making how much? 11. Okay, I can kind of see why they're a bit expensive. 5 million for Heponiemi as a 78 for how many years? Only 1 year, okay. Yeah, I could kind of see why they're expensive. Their defensive core is getting overpaid a lot too. At least Yukov's making a lot of money. And Colton Ellis, and their goaltending is pretty cheap. So there's that. They must have some guys in the minors making a lot of money too. But there is that final thing. Let's take a look at that playoff tree. Colorado and Vancouver. That should be an interesting matchup. Also in Anaheim, Winnipeg, Vegas, Nashville, and Arizona. Tampa, Montreal, Boston, Toronto, Washington, Detroit, New Jersey, Columbus. And one other thing I want to take a look at is our former players' stats that we'd let go of. So Bickle, Festorini, Kalinin, and Keith. I think or not Keith, and Neil. I think I could remember where most of these guys were. So Bickle's 74 points this year, +9, so he did turn it around this time around with Dallas, but they missed the playoffs again. But still good to see him getting back to form pretty much. So there's him in Dallas. We had LA, we had Kalinin go there. He had 15 points, was a -9. Not terrible, I guess. Then we had Minnesota, we had Festorini, who went to them. He played 82 games, only 29 points. Yikes. Yeah, he's regressing quite a bit. He might end up retiring quite young too, like at 33 or something. It's unfortunate for Festorini though. Well, Nashville, we had Neil. He was not there anymore. So Harry Neal must have left Nashville. That is something I got to take a look at. And then we'll end the episode after I take a look at that, because I don't want this episode to be too long. But I probably will pre-record the playoff episodes like I normally do. But let's see where Neil went. Because they replaced him with Shesterkin. And Shesterkin had a great year. So where did Neil go? Actually, I spelled his name wrong. Because he's not spelled like the actual Harry Neal, like the broadcaster guy. He's spelled like Neil, like Chris Neal. There he is, Chicago now, huh? And on a one-year deal, so he might end up being like a journeyman, but he went to Chicago, was playing as a backup, had a really rough go. Oh, that's unfortunate for Harry Neal. Getting thrown to being a backup for a bad team. Yikes. Hopefully we can bring him back at some point if we have the cap space, because that would be nice. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the first round against the Anaheim Ducks as we look for a more successful playoffs than we've had the last 2 seasons. So let me guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.